Olive, you heard about how army officers overthrew the government in Gabon?
Yes, just after election results were announced that the family that has been in power for over 53 years had again won. You can't make this stuff up.
So it's almost like, people like to say same script, different cast. Essentially, that's the story of Africa. There will be someone who's been in power for many years, decades. He will usually and typically, overwhelmingly, win the election with the most votes. And of course, opposition people will typically not be okay with it. They will say it was rigged, which arguably, probably, but sometimes not, in rare cases. And then in some instances, the top brass of the military might decide to take matters into their own hands and then capture power, seize power. And this is what we've seen in several countries.
Yes.
I think even in Mali, Niger, that it was also the same thing.
It was the same thing.
The outcome of a contested election.
And in Niger, what was even more baffling is that the head of the presidential guard is the one who took the power.
Can you imagine?
Someone
and yet,
close to you like
ordinarily,
that.
that's supposed to be the person closest to the president.
Exactly.
And now he had the president under arrest, and the president was there crying and pleading for his life, not sure whether or not he was going to be allowed to live, claiming he wasn't eating.
The Niger president?
Yes.
Okay.
So that just was a very messy situation.
Exactly.
Then, of course, we've seen coups in Mali and
Burkina Faso.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on in West Africa. People are calling this the African Spring. Almost a reminder of what happened in North Africa about 10 years ago.
About 2011. But you see, I don't know where other leaders that have been in power or families that have been in power for so long, I don't know how they're feeling right now, because it feels like something is sweeping across the dark side of Africa this time, because that time it was the Arab side of Africa, but this time round these coups are coming closer and closer to different countries,
and it's only going to inspire more.
And
I think
it is
coups.
going to inspire more coups. I don't know if you saw a tweet that was made by Timothy Karyejira. Did you see it?
He was very busy. I think the news of the Gabon coup really excited him.
It excited him. So he said, if you're an intelligence officer at ISO or CMI, read carefully the social media data reflecting very high interest in the Gabon coup. This is the true broad sentiment in Uganda. Let's stop deceiving Museveni, Saleh, Muhoozi or Mama that the Ugandan public still loves them. To which Alan Kasuja said, Wapi, Uganda is coup-proof. And and then Timothy Kalyejira said, you too, Alan? Or perhaps I should say, why am I not surprised?
Well, I mean, never say never, right? Because even people who thought, whoever thought Mubarak would get unseated, whoever thought Gaddafi would be removed.
Exactly.
And
whoever thought that Robert Mugabe would go out and ceremoniously as he did.
So as much as, we love Museveni and his cunning and his Machiavellian scheming and how he knows how to move his pieces, and basically he's a brilliant strategist, but even so, man, he's not God and he's not divine. So eventually there'll be a slip up somewhere, there'll be some cracks, and someone will try and take advantage of it.
Okay, and this family in Gabon has been in power for 53 years. The president that has been overthrown came into power his father died in 2009, so he has been in power since then. And the father had been president, so he died in 2009 and the son took over. Now this president that is calling on his international friends to come and speak up and, call it what it is, that it is wrong for the coup to happen. Apparently one of his sons has been arrested. A 31-year-old gentleman has been arrested, so he's calling for help from his international friends. That's why he was saying, my wife is somewhere, I am somewhere, I don't know what's going on, nothing is going. He's even confused because even the speech he was giving, it was uncoordinated.
Yeah, let's listen to it. I have it right here. Check this out. This is the Gabon president, or should I say the deposed Gabon president.
I'm Ali Bongo, Ondimba, president of Gabon, and I'm to send a message to all the friends that we have all over the world to tell them to make noise. For the people here have arrested me and my family. My son is somewhere, my wife is in another place, and I'm at the residence. Right now, I'm in the residence and nothing happening. Nothing is happening. I don't know what's going on. So I'm calling you to make noise, really. I'm thanking you. Thank you.
Make noise. Thank you. Please make noise.
And it is important to note that this whole call for help is in English. The official language for Gabon is in French.
That's what I was thinking, because I saw the speech by the leader of the coup, and he was addressing the nation in French.
Yes. So why is he speaking English? Whose sentiment?
Because France
is
ain't
he
coming.
Trying to? France ain't coming. What's happening? Do you see the closeness or the relatability between this coup and the one that happened in Niger? These are French-speaking nations.
This is true, and I think
Faso, Niger,
Mali. So it's like French colonial Africa is just falling apart. At least the French control over it. And Macron is a very inept president, and he has been criticized even back at home by his own politicians. They're saying, dude, do you even know what you're doing? You're showing that France is weak. Because a stronger president, I think, would have done a better job of, I guess, reinforcing the relationships, maybe supporting these governments, and at least trying to manage the public relations side of it to not make France look so much like the bad guys. But
he has managed to have these countries ostracize him, so to speak.
Yep, and he has nothing to say to that. France is looking like the bad guy, and the Gabonese leader for sure knows that they have their hands full and have no intention of helping him. So he's now appealing to the West.
Exactly, because that's the only rationale for speaking and addressing the nation and the international community in English. So probably he's trying to tug at the heartstrings of people from maybe the United States.
Probably, but they're not coming.
They're not coming, but because
they're just some banana republic with a little bit of oil.
First of all, 53 years. Honestly speaking, this is the time when you shamefully decide to let people be. Your family has had enough. I'm of the opinion of for 53 years, probably you have been the son of the president, you have been the president, and I'm sure you're rich. This time round, when people say step away, don't even call the international community to come and help you. Just agree, as in reserve whatever decency you have.
And I think this might be a good reminder for our political elite here, our leadership. Not that I'm wishing the same fate upon them as what has happened to this and other presidents recently in the region, but there are common signs that they may want to take note of. First, you have people who are struggling, a terrible economy, a lot of unemployed people, a lot of desperation. And while that is happening, you are flaunting your opulence and your wealth. I saw a picture of the Gabon president recently during this past Christmas. He held a Christmas party in which he had the room decorated to seem like it was snowing. All right.
Wow.
Exactly.
Like he wanted snow.
Pure
and he
opulence.
Had in Luganda, they say boyoya echibumba batante, to mean when you crave liver, they kill a cow. They slaughter a cow so that you may eat liver.
And then, so that sort of reminded me of the recent images we saw from the president's anniversary.
But was it overly done though?
But because here's what we saw. Here's what look at it from the viewpoint of a critic of this government.
Okay.
You're seeing a very elaborate. Okay, it wasn't too glossy an event, but you could just see the president, his wife, their children, their grandchildren.
By wearing white.
But it was very symbolic of a dynasty-esque vibe to the way this country is being run. And that's what I'm saying. So if you are a detractor, you can easily seize upon that and say, yep, they're trying to create a dynasty.
And actually, this time round, I've read different articles that were written about the event, the Golden Jubilee celebrations. In 2013, when they celebrated 40 years in marriage, Muhoozi Kainerugaba was still the best man at the time. But around that time, he wasn't as powerful in the army as he is today. Around that time, he wasn't even into the eyes of the public. You remember, he for a long time, he maintained, he was, I won't call it aloofness, but he wasn't there. He wasn't giving interviews. He wasn't loud on Twitter like he has been of recent. So he was keeping to himself. No one really looked deeper into it. But now we know, over the last couple of years, he's been around, state visits, doing what, and of course the Muhoozi project. So there is an article I read where someone was saying that it was symbolic. What happened at these celebrations was symbolic of the outgoing and the incoming.
So it almost seemed like I guess
the old guard is almost out.
Yes, it was symbolic in that it was depicting a transition of sorts.
Thank you so much. That's what the article, I think it was in Nile Post. That's what the article said, that it was symbolic of
handover.
The transition. Oh yes, because these men are now powerful. He's a general, and not the outgoing. The president is a general.
My question
young,
would be,
blunt, strong.
Yeah, but to me, that the question I would ask is, when you and others say he's strong, he has influence, he has power, is it by virtue of who his father is or by virtue of his own unique talents and skills? Because I haven't seen enough of his own personal abilities standing on their own to be able to gauge his abilities, because I really have no idea of that. And given the fact that, I mean, military stuff is not really out for public viewing, we don't know what kinds of operations he staged, how successful they have been, and so on and so forth. But we do have some idea of how brilliant his father is. And just in the way that I was saying that this is comparable to the situation in Gabon, yeah, you might have a dear leader who's been in power for like 60 years and is loved by the public or tolerated to an extent. But if there is then a handover to, let's say, a child or a son, is that love easily transferable? I would argue it is not. And that just creates the breeding grounds for the discontent, which can escalate into a coup situation, which I think is what we have been seeing, what we are seeing right now in Gabon. Because the coup didn't happen during his father's rule. It happened during the son's rule.
It happened during the son's rule. The son, who has also been in power for quite some number of years. I mean, 2009, this is 2023. That is a big number of years.
Okay, so he's been in power long enough to have known.
He's been in power long enough to have corrected some wrongs, if any, that were done by his father, and to endear himself to the people of Gabon. Now, if he has failed to do that, then it means he has failed. Now, answering your question on Muhoozi, where you asked if it is his unique talents as an individual or who his father is, it's a bit of both.
Yeah, because if tomorrow...
Because you cannot take away who his father is.
But I'm saying, so if Museveni was not there tomorrow and he had to be on his own, would he be able to command the respect of the military top brass and all of the officer class?
I was coming to that.
The generals.
I was coming to that, and that's why I said it's a little of both. He would have to prove his worth to the people of Uganda, because right now it is said that majority of Uganda loves the president, and if we're to go by the last election and how the Ugandan map had yellow in most places, and we are to go by that without saying we take that with a pinch of salt, you could say that Ugandans love his father. Now, him as Muhoozi would have to prove his worth to Ugandans, because some things are not transferable. You cannot transfer love from one person to another. You cannot do that. There are people who love my children because they love me. As a single parent, sorry, this is not related to politics, but as a single mom, when I meet a man and he embraces my kids, he's embracing them because he loves me.
Yes.
If I'm not in the picture, that man may probably have had to spend a great deal of time with these children and fall in love with them to love them even in my absence. And I relate that to Muhoozi Museveni situation. He would have to prove to Ugandans that he's worth their love and their attention, and probably that's why we now see him a lot more than we used to, because they're trying to unveil him to us, so that when the time comes, we don't know when, maybe we are now used to him, and probably he has done some things. We see him, launching things, campaigns here and there, different things.
Yeah, but you see, that's cosmetic. That's surface level stuff. Me, I'm more interested.
I think you're being a cynic.
I feel like I'm being a
What do you
bit more
want to
realistic.
know?
What I want to know
is he's not going
is
to stage a revolution like his father.
He's not. But you see, what we do know about his father, and what his father has been very good at, is by just, and as I mentioned earlier, just being able to move the chess pieces around to know, okay, who are the different characters, who are the people I have, shuffling them and reshuffling them strategically, removing some of them and
weakening some of them,
strengthening others.
Yeah.
Basically, being able to hold this power base at bay so that he can kind of remain on top through that system of intrigue. Now, so what I'm saying is, I'm not sure that Muhoozi has shown that he has the acumen for that.
And here's the thing, his father has been at this for pretty much all his life.
Yeah.
Way before he became president, he was in other governments.
That, and also he, by virtue of his accomplishments, commands the respect of the top people.
But one man is 48 or 49 now, and one man is almost 80, if not 80 already. You see the difference? The father has over 60 years of experience. This guy has just come into the limelight, as in politically, because in the army he's been there, but politically he's just starting to launch himself. So maybe he needs some grace.
And I know the argument has been that, that may not have been the original plan. Different commentators have suggested that there was a different succession plan in place that was supposed to be implemented, but didn't really work out the way it was intended. So this kind of, I'm meant to understand that this could be sort of like the last resort kind of situation. Because if not, it could have been implemented earlier, don't you think?
Well, you see, the president himself has been evasive when it comes to the issue of transition. That's one question that has been asked pretty much every election cycle, and that's one question that he has not always answered. And for the longest time, he kept telling us that he was able and that he still had the power to do what? To rule, to continue. And now probably he recognizes that time is of the essence, age is not on his side, and now he's thinking outside the box. But we will have to see how this goes. For one thing I know for sure is that it is worrying. The coups that are in all these other countries are worrying, that's for sure. And in as much as many Ugandans would want to see something different, one family out of power, there is one thing I want Ugandans to really think about.
What's that?
Deeply. You do not want what is in Sudan right now to happen here.
Which Sudan? There's two Sudans.
No, I'm talking about Sudan now. The Sudan where there has been fighting. Remember, there was a coup.
There's fighting in both Sudans.
There is fighting, but the most recent fighting has been in Sudan. Yes, but even if we are to go to South Sudan, that's not the kind of climate we want, honestly, because war, unfortunately, does more harm, actually grievous harm, than anything else.
Well, if you're to go by the sentiments being expressed by social media, and I know social media is just a subset of the Ugandan upper middle class, because let's face it, that's who's on social media. A lot of them are cheering this. For them, they're celebrating the fact that these leaders who they hate are being toppled and are falling. Now, and this is another thing, because you will see videos of people on the streets celebrating. I think let's not jump to conclusions that this therefore shows that the coups have popular support. I think the way most countries are organized, I mean, how many people is it going to take to fill up the streets? Maybe 5 to 10,000 people? Okay, and if you can muster 5 to 10,000 people that hate the government and make them pour out into the streets or fill out the stadium, is that an indication of how the whole country feels?
And also in the aftermath of a coup, especially the young people, because most African countries, their populations have largely young people. So after the immediate aftermath of a coup, many people are going to be celebrating. Young people will be on the streets. But I'm yet to see a government that is thriving after the coup. For me, that's when I'll be like, maybe this is worth it. But if we are to go by what we've seen in the Sudan, in Morocco, in Tunisia, like anywhere, even if there was no coup or there was an attempt or there was a mutiny, most of these countries are struggling. They are worse off right now than they were before the coup. So we need to really think deeply. And,
we do.
If we are to go by what happened in this country in 2021, or was it 2020 in November, we just had 2 days of riots. 2 days.
Yeah, and 18 people died, and
no, 54.
54.
That is according to official reports, but it could have been more. So 54 people, young, old people. That lady that was at Kampala Road carrying a plate of food, and what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, what did we gain?
Yeah, not much out of it. But, a lot of people feel like, hey, we are being pushed against the wall. So if it means the country falls apart, so be it. Coups are a good thing because that is the only way to remove our oppressive regimes. That's what people are saying.
Some of the people saying those things are even tweeting from other countries. Some of those people have a way of leaving the country. Think about someone that has never even had a passport or gone as far as Busia to cross into Kenya.
Yeah, like what's that guy's Justice Hunter? That activist, he's an LGBT activist, but also anti-Museveni activist, and he's always tweeting out these pro-military coup sort of messaging. And for a guy like him, of course, and others in the diaspora who hate this government, they have nothing to lose.
And
they already have lives over there. They have jobs. They have families.
And they may have good reasons for hating the government, because if we say we are a democratic nation, then it means people will be for and against the government. But you cannot say that coups are good for us, because in the countries where coups have happened, nothing good has come of them. Nothing. Even in Zimbabwe, they just had an election last week, and it is still said, was it last week or this Monday? And it is still said elections were rigged. They are still languishing with high rates of inflation. Honestly speaking, I don't know what we need to do, but coups are not going to help.
Well, anyway, obviously, we are only just starting to, get the full understanding of what's unfolding in Gabon. Time will tell where this goes. Will other leaders across the globe heed, the president of Gabon's call for an intervention? He's asking us to keep making noise, man. We ain't got time for that, man. We have our own issues.
We have our own
we have our own headaches here. So just forget about it. But Gabon today. Which country tomorrow? Who's next on the chopping block?
Wow.
I wonder. Do keep listening to the Fatboy Show on RX Radio.